Let me start by introducing myself. So my name is Jazmine Orozco, and I am a team member here at SportsRecruits. But before that, I was a volleyball player. I played indoor volleyball at the University of Illinois, and I also played indoor and sand volleyball at Pepperdine University. I've been a club coach and supported athletes through recruiting for the last 10 years. Is my 11th season. So I'm super excited to be here with you guys tonight and just talk you through how we can have a successful volleyball season this year, now that that season is officially here. Here's a look at what we're going to go through tonight. So we're going to start by talking about how to start off the club season on a strong note, things that you can be doing right now to set yourself up for success. Next, we'll talk about video and the recruiting process, which is truly so important in 2023, now more than ever. We'll talk through some of the best practices for talking to college coaches and presenting yourself well, both in person and online. Finally, we'll cover some in-person evaluation events and then how to lean into your advocates for support. So let's dive in. First, for making a strong start to the club season, the 3 keys here are 1, building and maintaining your target list of schools. 2, preparing your social media to put your best foot forward. And 3, reaching out to college coaches to make sure they know where they can catch you live in action this season. So when you're building out your target list of schools, it's really important to consider your school choices holistically. You'll want to consider, is this school a good fit academically? Do they have your major? Will you be challenged academically? Will this school set you up for what you want to do in your life beyond sport? We'll also want to think, okay, athletically, do I want to be a 6 rotation go-to star athlete of the team, or am I looking to maybe make a smaller contribution on a larger program? We'll want to think geographically as well. Do you want to be close to home? Do you want to get as far away as possible? Or are you someone who knows they wouldn't be able to withstand a really cold, dark winter? All of those are things you have to take into account. And then what does the school social life look like? Are there opportunities for you to get involved with organizations that you care about? And then finally, finances. What do scholarship opportunities look like, both in athletics and academics? And can you make that work? I want you guys to keep in mind this process is really fluid, so your target list should change, especially if you've built out a list and you're a younger athlete. We look for about 20 to 30 schools to start. So having a broader net or range of schools you're interested in when you're younger is important. And that list should get a little bit smaller as you get further into the process. So just to get specific with SportsRecruits, we have the search tool that's going to allow you to use different criteria to narrow down the list of schools you're interested in. If you click the schools tab in the top right corner, you can use it to take that really overwhelming number of schools offering volleyball, which is almost 1,900 schools on the women's side, and you can bring it down to something that's a lot more manageable and targeted to you. You're able to use this to filter by location, close to home, specific region. You can also filter by academics. That includes if you already have your ACT or SAT scores, what schools can you get into, size of the school. And then lastly would be your athletics, division, conference, what you think would be the best for you. Once you find a school you're interested in, you just click the heart and that school is added to your favorites list. Oops, that went a little too far. There we go. So at SportsRecruits, we have used data from all of our users to try and figure out the most effective strategies. And here's what we found out about student athletes who built out a list of target schools. Committed athletes favorited an average of 28 schools. Athletes who favorite 5 or more schools receive 7 times as many profile and video views from college coaches. You might be someone who thinks, I want to keep my favorites list on a piece of paper or in a spreadsheet, but adding it to SportsRecruits increases the likelihood that you'll appear in a college coach search, as they can search for athletes who are interested in them. So this just reinforces the point that if you cast a wide net and you continue to refine your list, you'll be on the right track for finding that good fit school for you. So the next key piece of preparing for season is prepping your social media. I'm sure that a lot of our athletes hear this a lot, but it is super important. First, consider whether you want your settings to be public or private. And there are advantages to both. So depending on what you're primarily using your account for, you may want it to be public or private. You also may want to consider having an account that's dedicated to volleyball content, separate from your personal content. If you plan on utilizing a volleyball social media account, just make sure your name and grad year are clearly listed, and be mindful that even if you have a private account, what you post, like, retweet, share, all of that can become public information, and college coaches do pay attention to that. So do yourself a favor, take some time to clean up your social media and previous posts now as we head into season. And so when you take a look at your social media, I have a couple questions I tell my athletes to ask themselves. The first is, if I were a college coach looking at this account, would I want this athlete to play for me? The second is, what about what I can see on this athlete's social media account tells me that they will positively contribute to my team and my culture? So if you keep those two questions in mind while you're choosing what you post and put on your social media, that should help you kind of filter through that content. Social media doesn't have to be something you hide from, so I'm not saying all this to scare anyone. We really want you to utilize social media to your advantage. It's an incredible tool and college coaches are using it. So follow your favorited schools and coaches on social media. This can help you learn about the culture of the team. So when you have a chance to talk to that coach, you have a little bit more and you have personal information that you can share based on what you've seen. You'll also want to use it to communicate with college coaches. You can like, favorite, retweet anything that your team's athletic department or the team itself is posting. And then on a personal note, you'll want to use it to publicize awards. So any sort of accolade or recognition that you're garnering, put that on your social media. The last piece would just be that you can link your social media profile to your SportsRecruits account. So if you link SportsRecruits in there, maybe in your bio, you just make it a lot easier for college coaches to click on the link and see you playing, watch your video, and learn more about you. All right, the third thing we want to keep in mind as we're preparing for season this year is that now is a great time to reach out to college coaches and reintroduce yourself or introduce yourself for the first time and share your schedule. College coaches are figuring out who's going to be traveling to what events to watch athletes right now. So this is a great time to put your schedule on their radar. Make sure when you're doing this, you start with a personal touch so that they know this is not a blast message going to lots of different schools. Let them know which club and team you're playing for this year. Share where you will be playing, so which events you're going to. Make it clear that you're interested in their program. And if you have any updates at this time, highlight reels from high school season, transcripts, any of that, make sure you share that with the college coach. Lastly, if you have an advocate, so you have a club coach or another member of your community who wants to advocate for you, this is a great time to kind of tag them in. All right, that covers how we're going to start out season. Next is video and recruiting. As I'm going through these video slides, you're going to see a little 11 times graphic in the corner of a lot of these slides. And that's just a reminder that college coaches are 11 times more likely to send messages to athletes who have video on their profile. So video is more important now than it's ever been in recruiting. When it comes to evaluating you as an athlete, video is one of our most important things. And so I want you to think about video as like a highlight reel or a highlight reel as a trailer for the movie that is your athletic ability. Highlight reels are something that can get you on a coach's radar. The reality is a coach can't be everywhere all at once. They can't be at all of your games. And so video is a great way to generate interest from a coach who might not have been able to watch you play in person this year. Just a note from SportsRecruits that you can upload an unlimited amount of video to your profile. So just make sure that you're keeping your video up to date as we navigate this season. So the third time you heard me say this, but coaches are 11 times more likely to message athletes with video, and athletes with video are 3 times more likely to commit. So as you're looking at this graphic here, you can see adding a transcript increases the likelihood that you are able to commit. Library video is super important, and then profile pictures are also really important. So if you haven't done those things already, make sure we're getting those done as we head into season. I want to get specific here about what it means to build out a highlight reel that's actually effective for volleyball. So first, volleyball coaches are actually looking for highlight reels. They're not looking for skills videos. The difference between those two things is a skills video is going to show you, for example, setting off of a toss or hitting off of a toss or some sort of controlled situation in a gym. But what they actually want to see are highlight reels, which means they want to see footage from games, scrimmages, tournaments, live play. It's much easier for a coach to visualize you within their program if they can actually see what you look like competing. So if you have those opportunities, that's the kind of footage we're looking for. Second, you don't need to pay for a professional videographer. I know that it can feel really tempting to want to create these really fancy high-tech videos. And the reality is, college coaches are more interested in the quality of your play than the quality of your video. A coach is not going to be like, wow, their music was so awesome that I'm really interested in this kid now. If the skills are there, that's what matters. Everything else is secondary. Third is going to be to consider your angle. So when we're filming, and sometimes at tournaments, it's really difficult to get a good angle on the court, but you'll want to choose an angle that shows all of the movement of the play and makes it easy to identify which player you are. Film from the end line behind your team service line works best. And then coaches want to see the whole play develop. They don't want you to just zoom in on yourself. So that angle works really well. Moving on, I did see a question about highlight reels, and I'll address it in just a moment. 4, keep it concise. Coaches don't have time to watch 10 minutes of video. They're just not going to. The average viewing time for player videos is 3 minutes and 18 seconds. So make sure that your first 3 to 5 clips or rallies really showcase your skills as well as your range. You want to front load your clips, meaning you want to put the best clips at the beginning, but you also want those to be the ones where you're involved in more than just 1 second of play. And then if you have a bunch of shorter clips, you can throw those in at the end. Similarly, keep your most applicable clips first. So if you're primarily a setter, put your setting clips first. If setting is your secondary position, put those later in the video. Make sure that it's clear to coaches who are watching your video that they can watch the skill that they're looking for or the position that they're looking to recruit you for. Here are some position specifics for volleyball. So as an attacker, you want to showcase your range and include a variety of shots. Include your transition off of the net and movement, not just your approach to attack. Show your adaptability and athleticism, and this is true for all positions, but you want to not just show what you look like hitting on a perfect set, but include some out-of-system sets or less than perfect sets to show that you're adaptable. And lastly, choose plays where you have multiple contacts. So if you're able to show where you passed a ball and then transitioned or got a touch on the block and then got to attack, anything that you can show that you're involved in more than one touch, the better. For setters, you also want to include your transition from defense or blocking to showcase your movement. You want to choose clips where you convert a variety of passes, not just perfect passes, to high quality sets. Your first 5 clips should not all be of the same set. So we don't want to see you just setting the outside or just back setting, but you want to mix in and show that you're a versatile setter. And then you also want to include hustle plays. This is true for all positions, but show the plays where you're running and diving and moving, and that you're the kind of athlete that they want on their team because you're going to run through walls to get the ball. And then last is a libero or DS. First, it's not about the jersey. So a lot of kids will say, I'm a libero, but I played DS on this team, and so I don't want to use this footage because I'm not wearing the jersey. They don't care what jersey you're wearing. It's not about the jersey. It's about your play. So post it anyway. Look for plays where you have multiple contacts, where you out of system set, then you dig and cover, you pass and cover. Anything where they can see you touching more than one ball is great. And then start your clips early enough to showcase how you move as well. So don't start from the second you're digging, but add a few seconds beforehand. And then if you play multiple defensive positions, so if you play left, middle, and right back, or 2 of those, make sure you're including different views of where you play defense in your highlight reel. So I saw a question come through the chat about building a highlight reel and what app to use. So we actually offer a free highlight reel editor. on the SportsRecruits platform. This is relatively new and we updated it very recently. So if you've been on SportsRecruits for a while and haven't seen it lately, definitely go in and check it out. But here you can easily use any of the film that you've uploaded, raw footage from tournaments, from scrimmages and games, and you can easily publish your highlights to your profile. All you'll have to do is click the sources you want to use that little scrubber that you can see on the screen to select the clip you want, enter a name and a description, and then add it to your highlight. It's a great way for you to get film up fast, especially right after an event, and these highlight reels are downloadable. We also offer the ability to rank your clips and add a brief description that college coaches can see. So it's another way to engage with college coaches. They'll see the description as they watch your video. Hopefully that answers your question. Moving into communicating with college coaches. 80% of committed athletes on our platform contacted more than 10 schools. So what that's saying is college coaches, for the most part, except for a very select group of athletes in this country, college coaches are not going to come knock on your door and say, come play for us. They're not going to come to you. You need to do your part to get yourself in front of them. So just looking at some numbers to back up what I'm talking about here. On our platform, committed players contact twice as many schools as uncommitted players. Committed players also send 2.5 times more messages to college coaches than those who did not commit. So if you're looking at this graph here, this is just a little bit to back up what it looks like to contact a college coach and actually see those results. I just saw a question come through about at what age or school year should this entire process start, which is a great segue into this slide. So we can see the basic rules involving messaging college coaches on this slide here. But generally speaking, college coaches can discuss recruiting with you on June 15th, heading into your junior year. That's true for Division 1 and 2. Division 3 coaches can start this conversation at any time. So a myth here, or a belief that a lot of people have, is that you can't contact a college coach until your junior year. It's absolutely not true. College coaches cannot contact you until that time, but you are still able to contact them. So we don't have a definitive answer for when you should start reaching out to college coaches because it does depend on what types of schools you're looking at, what caliber of athlete you currently are, where you're playing for your club season, but it doesn't hurt to start reaching out to college coaches when you're in high school and you're playing in competitive tournaments, because even if they can't respond and all they can say back to you is, sorry, I can't talk to you, they're still seeing your name come across their inbox. They can still watch your video. They can still look at your profile. And by the time June 15th of your junior year comes along, they'll already have built out a book of athletes that they're interested in pursuing. So you want to make sure you're getting yourself in front of them ahead of time. Another question came through about getting information onto SportsRecruits from an iPad. SportsRecruits works the same on an iPad or a phone as it does on a computer. So whether that's video, updating your profile, you should be able to upload all of that in the same way. Okay, so what to say to a college coach by email? These feel pretty straightforward, but I think it's important to name them. Be cordial, wish them well. We want to express your interest in every email, so never make them guess whether you're interested. Include video whenever possible. Include your phone number in case that's their preferred method of communication. Have someone check your grammar, check your own. List the name of your coaches that you would want them to contact and make it really personal to that school. So in that same way, don't use a copy and pasted email template that is the same for every single school you're reaching out to without taking the time to make it personal. College coaches can tell when that template is being used. And so it's not bad to have a rough template of what you like to say, but you do want to make sure you're taking the time to make it personal to that school and to those coaches. Right. Make sure you're using the right name for the school. Don't ask them about scholarships when you're reaching out by email. Don't email them every day. Don't go too long without checking in. So there's a balance there. And don't assume that a coach is going to initiate the contact to reach out to you as well. I did see a few questions come through. We'll get to those, but one of them is asking about camps, and we've got a section on camps in here, so we'll cover that towards the end of the webinar. What to say on a call with college coaches. Very similar to email, but a little bit more high stakes because you don't have the time to plan out what you're going to say necessarily. So first, prepare. Have questions, do your research, know about the program, be professional. Make sure that your background is something that's professional. If you're on a video call, dress professionally. You don't have to wear a suit or anything fancy, but you want to make sure that it's something appropriate. And then listen, take notes. Whatever it is they're telling you, write it down, take some time to think through it, and you may have a different approach to it or thought about it after some time has passed. So some don'ts. Don't make any rush decisions. Don't push to bring up scholarships too early, and don't be nervous. Keep in mind that college coaches talk to high school athletes all the time on the phone, and what they're really trying to figure out is what kind of person are you? And so if you're able to just calm your nerves and be who you are, that's the best way you can go into these conversations and let your personality really show. So I'm seeing a lot of questions about like what we should send in messages. And so there are a few different things that we can say to college coaches. And if you're wondering like, when do I start reaching out, or have I been reaching out at the right times, wrong times? This gives you an idea of some times that we definitely want to be reaching out. First, introduction. Give them your basic information. Tell them you're interested. Tell them your schedule, like we mentioned earlier in the webinar. So let them know where you're going to be this season. And if you have video, include that in there. If you're using the SportsRecruits messaging system, the link to your video will be included in your email signature, so you won't have to worry about going and finding it. Pre-event, and for us, it'd be like pre-tournament. 10 to 12 days before a tournament is a great time to check back in with a coach who you've been in touch with already, to let them know that you're heading to this big tournament, hoping that they'll be there. Include the details that they need to come watch you play. Keep in mind with volleyball, we don't always get our schedules for the actual games we're going to be playing until right before, which is difficult, but you can always send one once you get the schedule and maybe tell them, hey, if you're not able to watch me in person, here's a link to my Baller TV or the Facebook stream that one of the parents is doing. So they have an opportunity to watch you even if they can't be in person. After an event, if you've seen a college coach there at your court, if you ran into them, maybe waved and kept walking, you want to just take the time to say thanks. So you can ask for feedback. A lot of people feel uncomfortable doing that, but college coaches, especially college coaches who are interested in you, would love that you're taking the initiative to say, I would love some feedback on my recent highlight reel or from anything you saw at the tournament. That goes a long way and shows that you're the kind of athlete who wants to get better. And then just make sure you're always restating your very sincere interest. Other times of the year that you can reach out are in this general update section. So if you are in high school season and you notice a school you're really interested in just won their conference or just beat their rival within their conference, send them an email and say congratulations. Wish them luck as they're heading into a tournament or a big game. If you have some updates in your high school season that you want to share, you can share those. You can also share transcript, academic information. If you've updated a highlight video, that's a great chance to reach out again. And if you want to ask them for more about a camp or an upcoming event that they'll be a part of, those are great times too. Just keep in mind here that as much as we want parents to support and guardians to support with our athletes, the college coaches don't want to hear from parents. They're not going to be coaching parents, they're going to be coaching athletes. And so all of this correspondence needs to come from the athletes. If you're messaging using the SportsRecruits messaging system, we make it super easy. So in the to field, you'll just start typing the name of the school you're interested in. And then underneath, all of the coaches' names will appear. So you don't have to go look it up. Just type in the name, click, click, click. You can send them a message. At the bottom of every email, there will be a link to your SportsRecruits profile, so you don't have to copy and paste anything. And then afterward, if a college coach used that link to go view your profile, it's going to show up in your activity feed. So you'll be able to see which university viewed your profile or watched your video. I also want to show you this track your progress option. So in your favorites list, which we are all going to build out because it's super important, once you built out your favorites list, you can also track your progress along the way. So you can see, have I reached out? Have they viewed me? When was the last time I talked to this school? To really make sure that you're moving along. I saw a question come through that said, my daughter's a junior. She hasn't started reaching out. Are we behind? The reality is the recruiting process looks different for everyone. I've had athletes who started playing volleyball as juniors and went to play at really competitive programs. So it's not so much about the time as it is about the way you're using the time that you have left. So I would make sure you're getting in and building out a favorites list and following along and moving through these milestones as efficiently as possible. All right, so in-person evaluations. One of the most important questions for these is it worth it? I saw a question come through, is it common for a college coach to reach out to an athlete to attend camps at their facility? It is. A lot of camp invites and showcase invites go out every year, so it's really important for you to figure out if it's worth attending one of these events. So there's a couple of different ways we can look at this. The first would be, is it an event that has one school attending? Is it just that coach? If that's the kind of event it is, you have to think through, okay, is the school on my favorites list? Do I really want to go there? Does it fit my interests? Then be really honest. Can I play at this level? The reality is colleges will invite lots of different levels of kids to camp, knowing that a lot of those athletes are not the level that they're looking for long term. And so you want to be really honest with yourself as you're deciding, can I really play here? Do you want to learn more about that school and the coaches and the coaching style? And have you actually introduced yourself to the coach yet? So those are some things that you can ask as you're deciding if it's worth attending this camp. If it's an event with several schools attending, lots of college coaches, then you want to think, okay, is at least one of these schools near the top of my favorites list? Have I talked to any of these coaches? Do these schools match my level of play? And what is the reputation of the camp or the showcase? If you know that you will be a Division 2 or 3 athlete and you're going to a all Division 1 college coaches camp, that can be great if you're just looking to get better and get instruction and play at a higher level for your club season. But you'd probably be better spending your time and your resources to go to a Division 2 college coaches camp where it's full of colleges that would actually consider bringing you on. So just some things we should think about as we're deciding. Once you've decided you're going, we want to make it worth it. So before you go to that event or that camp or showcase, message those coaches. Make sure that you have all of your up-to-date information on SportsRecruits, on your social media, academic transcripts, schedules, everything. No one should ever show up to a camp completely unknown to a college coach. If you're showing up and they don't know who you are and you're hoping that they're going to discover who you are at this camp, you've missed an opportunity. So reach out ahead of time. During the event, beware of the intangibles. So what that means is, I'm personal as an athlete. I played at a camp one time and I was not playing my best. I didn't feel great that weekend, didn't have it. And I worked so hard to show that I was the best possible teammate. I cheered a ton. I was really supportive. I was very vocal. And I ended up making the team that I was trying out for because of those things. So not that your intangibles will completely replace the skills that need to be there, but coaches are always watching and those things really do go a long way. So hustle, be a good teammate, be a great person to have on the court, be loud, all of that goes a long way. Also, Get out and check out the campus. Walk around. Don't just go from where you're staying to the gym. See if that's a place you actually might consider going to school. After the camp or the showcase, message the coaches. Thank them. Ask for feedback. And then try and reassess your position with that school. Now that they've had a chance to see you play, do they think that they want to continue recruiting you? If not, it's not the end of the world. I know that rejection is hard. If a coach reaches out and says, hey, thanks for messaging us, we're no longer interested, or thanks for messaging us, but we don't need any outside hitters from your class. Those rejections are hard, but a lot of college coaches won't respond at all. So if you're hearing back, take the time to say thank you and move on, knowing that they've done you a favor, because now you won't waste your time. You're able to focus your efforts somewhere else. There's a lot on this slide, and I'm not going to read all of it because I know that going on a visit doesn't apply to all of us here. But when you're going on a visit, similar things to when you have a conversation with a college coach in person. Do your research, be yourself, ask the players questions that only they can answer. Ask the coach questions about playing style, academics, things that are specific to being on campus. Be professional, of course. Consider how you're dressed, look professional, be presentable. Don't do anything on campus that you wouldn't want a college coach to find out about, because they will, even when you're with the players who are currently on the team. Don't rush into anything. If you're on a visit and they tell you, if you don't commit today, we're not interested, that's really unprofessional of them. But if you're not sure, tell them you need some time to think about it. And then don't ever ask questions to a college coach that you could have found on Google. So if you need some support figuring out what the questions are you might want to ask, draft them ahead of time, write them out, reach out to your club coaches, high school coaches. As a club coach myself, I have kids call me all the time and practice what they want to say before they even go on a phone call with a college coach, which is great. And I welcome it. I love it because I want you guys to feel confident. So figure out who's willing to do something like that for you and take advantage of it. Which leads me to my last point here. Got a little ahead of myself. Using your advocates. With our athletic advocates, we have our club coaches and high school coaches. And taking advantage of the experience and knowledge that they have will help you significantly. Next would be our academic advocates, so our guidance counselors and our teachers. Make sure you're taking full advantage of those resources as well. And remember that colleges are not only evaluating your athletic ability, but they're also evaluating your ability to succeed at their school as a student, because if you can't succeed as a student, you can't play. Your advocates are there to help you, use them. So at the end of the day, the big takeaway here is to know this can be a really overwhelming process. You don't have to go through it alone. So be sure to utilize all of the resources, including the human resources that are available to you. Right now, something you can do if you haven't already is make sure your advocates know of your intentions to play a sport in college. Discuss your strengths and weaknesses with them. Tell them to be honest with you. Ask if they would be willing to write you a letter of recommendation, and ask them to provide feedback on your favorites list. I saw a question come through that's saying, I'm a senior, I just started sending messages, I haven't heard back. Do you think it's too late? I don't think that it's too late. If you're hearing pure no's from colleges, that's one thing. I think you should consider looking at the list of schools you've been reaching out to, and then get some feedback maybe from advocates, from coaches, to make sure you're reaching out to the right type of school. I've had athletes who commit as seniors, and they've been really happy in the places that they've landed. So just want to make sure that you're reaching out to the right people and that you're sending the right types of messages, but definitely don't stop. If you stop messaging now, then you're definitely not going to get responses. So keep reaching out. Okay, we're coming to a close here. So here are the resources we have available, just as a reminder for student athletes and staff. On the SportsRecruits website, we've got a recruiting guide, which has answers to common student athlete questions and needs with navigating recruiting. We've got monthly webinars like this one. So thank you guys for being here already. We've got the SportsRecruits blog posts as well. And so just a few resources you guys can take advantage of. With that, we are close to time. So I'm just going to try and get to a couple more questions. If you do have questions now, please throw them in the Q&A so that if I can't get to them today, I'll make sure we get an answer to you. Let's see. How would you address a program where the head coach job is open and the head coach just left? College coach turnover is a reality in volleyball, and it happens every year. And so if you've been in communication with a program already and that coach is going to a new program, once they've announced where they've moved over to, it's definitely worth reaching out and seeing if that coach is still interested in recruiting you now that they've moved to a new school. It can be really frustrating if you were already talking to that program and now they have a new head coach, but once the new head coach is announced at that program, also worth reaching out and saying, we had established a relationship. I was interested in the school. Once you've established what your recruiting needs are as a new coach, I would love to learn about them. So kind of like starting over with one and hoping you can continue the process with the other. Will this slideshow be available afterwards? Yes. If you were registered tonight, if you showed up tonight, you will get a copy of this recording. So my voice as well as the slideshow will be sent to your email within 48 business hours. So if it's not posted tomorrow, it'll be posted after the holiday and you can watch it. It'll also be posted to the SportsRecruits website. Let's see. Yep, the recording is coming your way. If this seems like an overwhelming process, what's the best first step? It is overwhelming. And so I think the first step would be to make sure you've done what we talked about at the very beginning of this webinar. So have a built out profile and get your target list of schools together. From there, talk to your advocates. So your parents, your guardians, your club coaches, your guidance counselors, have those people look at your target list and have them help you figure out a game plan from there. We've got all the resources that I have on the screen in front of you, but ultimately your immediate support system is going to be the best at helping you navigate all of this. I do not offer one-on-one coaching to help players through the recruiting process, but we at SportsRecruits do have people who do that. So if you are interested in learning more about having a one-on-one recruiting coach, that is available through SportsRecruits. You can email help@sportsrecruits.com. Somebody will reach out to you and let you know what that whole process and pricing and everything looks like. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. That is all of the time that we have today. I do see a couple more questions that I apologize I wasn't able to get to, but I have all of them on my end. So we will reach out to you from help@sportsrecruits and answer them. If you want to reach out to me directly to ask those volleyball questions to get some follow-up, help@sportsrecruits.com is the way to go. You're welcome to use my name in the email. My name is Jazmine, so that the team can get those over to me. Again, the webinar will be posted to the landing page by, it says Monday, will be Tuesday because Monday is a holiday. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. And hopefully I see you on another webinar soon. Best of luck with season.